Welcome to the Mariana Dalto Show, where we uncover powerful stories and actionable strategies to help entrepreneurs and individuals level up their lives and businesses. Today, I am thrilled to have a special guest, Bernice McDonald. She's a transformational coach, speaker, and writer who helps women break free from self-doubt and fear to step in their power. Bernice has lived this journey herself, moving from hiding behind perfectionism to embracing the courage to live fully. Today, we will explore what it means to be brave enough to be myself, the challenges of self-acceptance, and practical steps to live courageously. If you ever struggle with imposter syndrome or felt not enough, this episode is for you. So welcome, Bernice, to the show.
It is so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm very passionate about this topic, and I'm curious to learn more and more. So thank you for joining us on this show.
For sure. Me too. I'm curious to learn more and more about it.
Well, Bernice and I, we met, like we're both coaches. That's how we met. This is our background. This is not the first times meeting each other. We've been part of a coaching program, and she's amazing. And that's why I offer her to be my show, because she has a lot to offer. So thank you for being part of this episode.
Well, it has been a pleasure to watch you grow with your podcast. I mean, you have done so much, and my eye is on you because I'm going to be starting my own soon. And, it's just been a privilege to be able to talk to you here and there. And, you're a real inspiration to me too. So,
Oh, thanks, Bernice. I appreciate it. All right, tell us a little bit about your background and, about yourself, your business, so then people can know a little bit about you before we start talking about the book.
Oh, sure. I trained as a life coach about 20 years ago. I was amazed that there even was an occupation called life coaching, because it was kind of just naturally what I was doing with people, helping them to figure out problem solve in their life, basically. So then when I saw this broadcast on TV, my husband called me in and said, "Oh, you got to see this." And here it was a person who was called a life coach talking about that career. And so I trained shortly after that, found a place to train, and became a certified life coach. It was one of the most exciting things in my life.
Me too. That's what we have in common. We both have life coaches. Yeah.
Yeah. So over time, my life kind of turned upside down, and I ended up having to get a paid job. But the paid job was really very complementary to life coaching, because I started to work in administration, supporting the director of addiction and mental health in our local, all across the north part of our province. So I learned a lot about mental health in my 16 years there, and coached on the side. So I coached in relationship coaching because I went through a divorce. And so that really helped me to learn more about how to get over my own divorce, and really what a healthy relationship was like. So I did that for a time. And then I opened up an office, which I had on the side. Wasn't quite getting the right kind of clients. So then I waited for a bit, and then I began to coach women going through midlife for a time as well. And in the end, after I retired from my addiction and mental health job, courageously, I might say, I began to look at coaching women in business. It really fascinated me. I joined a networking group, and so that's how I got it. How I met you, taking the Business Made Simple course and getting certified in that. So now I'm doing a combination of life coaching and business coaching, because I'm working with women who are creatives, and to build a business, you have to be a creative. You are a business creative. And so,
yeah.
Yes. So I'm finding, how everything just kind of melts together.
That's awesome. Yeah, good journey. So we have similar journeys for sure. That's why, two mind alikes, they connect, right?
Yes, for sure. Always nice to find that support too, right?
Yeah, I agree. So let's start talking about fear. So you got a pivotal moment where you realized when you were living in fear. So What triggered your transformation? What happened there?
Well, I think probably the biggest light bulb was when I went through my divorce,
Mm,
because, there's nothing like going through a transition, a big change in your life where you realize all the things that you're struggling with in your life. Um, Fear started way back in time for me, though. I've always been a very sensitive type of person. And even as a child, things would happen that would scare me, right? Like if somebody got mad at me, I was afraid. I was afraid to do something wrong. I hated getting in trouble. I had problems with boys, like, the rejection thing and all of that just built that whole pattern of fear. And as Tony Robbins says, the biggest, most common fear on the planet is the fear of not being enough. And
mm,
along with that, the second most common fear is if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And really, my whole life sort of, that's how I interpreted things, is that, oh, I'm not enough for this situation or that person's rejecting me or that they're mad at me. So I must not be enough. And if I don't get to be enough, they won't love me. And so,
mm,
that was a really big pattern for decades in my life.
mm. So what shift? How did that you made a
In
shift?
my in the time of my divorce, I came across a lady named Rory Ray. She had a course called Have the Relationship You Want, which of course at that time really appealed to me. And I knew I needed some help in just building relationship too. Um, One of the things that really stood out to me in that course was she talked about fear and how fear shows up in us avoiding things, in us um, playing small, us pretending to be somebody we're not, us trying to please. All of those things were true of me. And I began to see those things coming out at that time. Well, what she said was, you need to not be afraid of fear. Fear is something that is very normal, very natural. In fact, she taught me, and I remember this specifically, she said, when you get afraid, and she was talking about dating, right? So when you go out on a date, which was, I mean, I'd been married for 24 years. So it was a long time since I had dated, but I wanted to find true love. So I did want to date and I needed to date. So she said, when fear comes up and you feel that in your body, you see it as a person, see it as a protector. And you say to that fear, okay, thank you very much, fear, for trying to protect me. But I want you to go over there in the corner and eat a cookie because I really have to go ahead and do this.
Mm,
And that illustration just changed my life. That was, it didn't like, there were a lot of times I didn't latch onto that yet, but it really helped me to begin to build that confidence in myself and in who
mm,
I am, because I realized I could be the boss of my
mm.
fear. Fear did not have to boss me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be controlled or told to not go there or do things because I was afraid.
Yeah, and I mean that's I mean that's how kind of like the brain works, right? I think you say in the book, fear is just your brain doing its job, because it's normal. You're human, so everyone experiences fear. It's just like how some people are stronger than others, and how you manage it, and the way you grew up. Maybe you handle it one way or the other, but I mean everyone experiences that, right? So it's not a
It's so
coincidence.
true. And it's interesting. You don't read about this approach to being afraid very often, but fast forward like 15 years, and I read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. And I
Mm,
loved it. Actually, I listened to it like 3 times while I was walking around the park on my lunch breaks because she talked a lot about being your authentic self and who you are. And she brought up a very similar illustration when she talked about fear and creativity, being afraid to create. And so she said, fear is always going to be with you. And so she wrote a letter to her fear. And she
oh,
said, I realize you are always going to be along for the ride and you are welcome, but you're sitting in the back seat. I will be driving. You will never be driving this car.
nice.
Those, when I started to really see that and think about it, it was something that just, it empowered me to think
Yeah.
that,
I think you mentioned in the book, did you name your fear?
yeah,
Yes, you did. What was the
Fred,
name? Fred. Yes.
you want to see the little that you want to see my animal, my little thing that represents fear? It sits on my
Sure.
table here all the time. Should I
Okay.
show you?
Yeah. Ooh.
So the way that I used to describe it in my writing was fear was like a fiery fear dragon flying around my castle. And I was always afraid of of its terror, because it was always warning me about things that could go wrong, and oh, you better not do that, and be careful, and you don't belong there, and who are you to think you can do that? So the teaching was to shrink your fear from that fiery just a sec, I have to get my words right here. Fiery, anyways, fire breathing dragon. That's what I'm trying to say. Shrink
Okay.
it down to a little guy and give him a name. And I think that came from Elizabeth Gilbert, is name your fear. And so I named mine Fred. And now this actually is
But Fred is a unicorn, isn't he?
he is.
Yeah, we gotta
But in
say,
my
because
mind,
whoever is not watching the show but is listening to the podcast, she is showing on camera a very cute, lovely unicorn.
yes, because I couldn't. And actually, this little animal came from my father passed away about 6 months ago, and this was my mom's, and he had this sitting on his bed. So I claimed it at that time, and I thought, you know what, that's going to be my representation of Fred, even if it's a unicorn, not a
Even if
dragon.
he's cute.
Yes. And it really helps, because it's like sometimes I take him along. If I'm afraid, I'll put him in the back seat of my car, because it's a symbol for me
Mm,
that I'm in control, and that if I'm not going to die, and fear is like that. The instinct of fear can't help but warn you, because it's something that was given to us way back as a safety measure. You've probably
mhm.
heard this before, to protect us from saber-toothed tigers or from falling
Yeah,
off a cliff.
right.
So that's when your life is in danger. But the sensations that come up in your body that are the same as if you're in your life is in danger, fear does not know the difference between whether you need to grow or whether you're actually going to hurt yourself physically.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sometimes you have to make the call. You got to be the boss and say, okay, I hear you. I hear you. I understand your concern, but I'm not about to die. This is something I need to do because I really want to take my life forward. I wanted to go on that date, or I wanted to do that thing in my business. And now it's the same thing. I'm always taking those courageous steps.
Good, good. And then, so let's go to the book and talk about, I think you had three major phases that you talk in the book. One is about when you simply don't like yourself. Number two, who tells you who you are, and then living courage. I can't say that word.
Yeah, courageously.
There you go. She said it for me.
It's a
Good job.
tongue-tied day.
Yeah, it's that day, the end of the day. Can you walk us through these stages, the significance? What do they mean, those three stages?
Sure. When you simply don't like yourself, I mean, that's the plague of being a human. You
Hmm.
know, all the things that I talked about, in your youth, as you're growing up, all the things that happen, a lot of times we are interpreting that what we make it mean is that we're not lovable. We're not enough. And so we don't like who we are. We want to be like that person, or do that or do that. So it's really typical not to like ourselves. And that I just wanted to introduce the fact that, and this is my courage journey. The book is really about my own courage journey and what I
Hmm.
learned. So that leads into the second phase about, asking yourself, well, if you don't like yourself, then who are you allowing to tell you who you are? Because you were beautifully made. You have something inside of you that is meant to be expressed in this life. You are meant to make a difference. You, in some way, you have these beautiful jewels inside. And again, that's a term I got from Elizabeth Gilbert, strange jewels. You
Hmm.
have something inside of you that is meant to express who you are and to help other people. When we don't like ourselves, what we do is we tend to block that out. We hold ourselves back and we don't give what we're meant to give. So this was like my whole story, that whole thing. But I want to help other women. I've seen it so much. I've seen them just, you know, so unsure and uncertain about who they are. So they learn first to start to discover who they are and the beautiful things that they have inside, who they've been listening to in their life, and how they let incidents in the past tell them, decide who they're going to be. And then, so as we work through the strange jewels and begin to grasp the whole concept that, hey, it's okay to be an individual. I don't have to be like everybody else. And maybe those strange jewels look odd to someone else, but they're actually given to me. And we can turn it around to see that what others might perceive as our flaws are actually our strengths. And that we can turn that around. And when you do that, when you turn around a flaw, something that you think is not good enough or doesn't measure up against somebody else, and make it a strength, it changes everything for you. And suddenly you start to kind of like yourself and appreciate the way that you're made. That, of course, leads into living with courage.
Nice.
That's where we start to apply, hey, I'm going to take this person that I'm meant to be out into the world, and I'm going to make a difference. This is my goal. This is my passion. This is what I want to do. And so but we have to practice that. We have to take the little tiny steps. And that's what I want to teach women, is that you don't go from A to Z or Z, as you would say, in a year. You have to go from A to B to C to D. You know this because you built business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And in every area, it's really the encouraging thing is to take those little tiny
Be
breaks.
brave to take the steps. And then one at a time, don't have the fear, take the steps one at a time, and you'll see, and it'll open up more steps and more clarity, right?
Yes. And even if you still do have the fear, you say, okay, thank you for trying to protect me.
Yeah.
But I need to take this step, because we'll never be without fear. It's always there.
Oh, it's gonna always be there. Absolutely.
I know. I almost like, now when I hear that whole term of being fearless, think, no, ain't gonna happen. Never gonna happen. You will always, it's an instinct that's born into our brains.
Yeah, we're human, right?
Always going to be there. You have to decide how you're going to handle that with the courage that you have inside. And it's always a decision. Will I be brave, or will I stay back? Will I shrink? Will I have courage, or will I stay where I am and do nothing?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I think you mentioned in the book that you include a 30-day journey from not enough to brave enough. So what's simple daily practices someone can start today? Like, just give us a peek. I know that you have something to offer to the audience, but give us a peek about some simple practices that we can start doing to feel from not enough to brave enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
In the end of the book, I have like a 4-week, it's a very simple, straightforward strategy. In there, every week built, it starts off with awakening your courage, like wake your courage up. Then the next week is about liking who you are. The next week is learning to stand up for you, take some steps there. And the last one is, decide which impact you're going to make in the world. And within each of those, every day there is an extended 30-day journey that they can opt in for. Every day you get an email that helps you to think about, where are you being afraid today? What is holding you back? And what little tiny steps can you take to begin to move you forward? And I always work in phases, because not everybody's at the same place. So there's like, if this is all you can handle, take this little step. But if you're a little more adventurous, try this. And if you're a little more adventurous, you really want to go for it, take the 3rd level. So I give them just growth opportunities every day as you work through the 30-day challenge. It's like a course, really. You grow your courage. You become a little braver, a little stronger. You become a bit more able to go towards whatever it is that you need to do.
Yeah, you feel better every day, a little bit more because you're making progress, right? You see the
Yeah.
change in yourself.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I did. And I still do. But when I look back on my journey, of course, it comes in phases and stages. You know, you learn a little bit more, you're ready to take on more. Or what happens a lot to people is something happens that really frightens them. A loss, bankruptcy, a divorce, a child gets very sick, those kinds of things can happen that shut a person down. And as you learn, like when you face those big transitions in life, those things, the little steps that you've taken every day prepare you to decide when you hit a great big bomb that goes off in your life, you decide, who am I going to be here as I'm sitting surrounded by the fire? Who am I going to be in this moment? So, the little steps do add up to, even within the bigger situations, they give you an opportunity to step into courage, be prepared to be the courageous person you want to be throughout your whole life, whether you're facing smaller challenges or big challenges.
You wrote in the book, there's a chapter about train your inner warrior. What does it mean to cultivate an unshakable mindset? What does it mean?
I think that is about strength, right? You
Yeah,
think of
yeah.
the definition of a warrior in
Mm-hmm.
this case, and women are warriors as much as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking fear right in the face, right in the eye, and say, I see you, I hear you, I'm understanding that what's bringing up these feelings in me, and what is causing me to hesitate or feel panic is fear. And so you look that fear right in the eye and you say, you weigh what do I need to do here? And you take those little steps. Okay, I want to be courageous. This again is about decision, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want to be courageous. And so you decide what does courageous look like in that situation? And you start to put one foot in front of the other, make little decisions about where you're going to go within the middle of that circumstance. And really, a warrior, they're coming across scary situations all the time. If they back down, the country dies, right? Or somebody
Mm-hmm.
that they're protecting is killed. So there is something more important than the fear. They don't feel fearless, they feel the fear, but they've made a decision that what they need to go for is way more
It's more
important.
important. Yeah. It's stronger. So that's how they can be a warrior.
Exactly. And they go into battle, and sometimes they don't come out, but
Yeah.
they give it everything they are. And sometimes it's not about whether you win or lose, it's who you become as you're fighting that battle, right?
Oh, that's a good one. Who you become. Oh, that's a big one. Big topic also
Yes.
for another show.
Yes.
Is there a final message that you would love to leave with our listeners about, the courage or anything else that you would like to say?
I think the main thing that I want women to know, and all of your listeners, men or women, because I have also had good discussions with men about all of this too, is that, and I have to say, when my husband and I got together in our first year, it was our second relationship. We were further along in life. It was scary. And we came across Ambrose Redmoon's quote where he says, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something is more important than the fear. And so if there's any quote you want to make a life theme, and we still quote that to each other when scary situations come up, when we're not sure what to do, that's the quote that we go back to all the time. And,
Say
it's
that
something.
again. Say the quote again.
Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something is more important than the fear. And
Wow.
Ambrose Redmoon said that. So look that up because, there's more to that quote, but that is the key part that is often quoted and that I hang on to. It's kind of like a life theme.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, it's lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us and for the audience as well. Like we really took a lot from this conversation. It's I get inspired for sure, and I
Oh,
see your
good.
energy, and it's been amazing. So thank you so much. So we will put the link in the show notes where they can get the book. But tell the people where they can find you, connect with you, besides like getting the book.
I have a website, bernicemcdonald.com. So it's just my name.com. They can go there. I'm on Facebook. I have a business page, Bernice McDonald Coaching. I'm also on LinkedIn. And YouTube, I have a few videos up on my YouTube channel now. So that's also at YouTube at bernicemcdonald.com. So, or I think it's YouTube. Anyways, if they
We
go
will put it in
at
the show notes, so don't worry.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. So, and if they opt in to have a free copy of the book, it's a PDF copy, but it's still basically the book. I will also include a weekly choose courage email, which is my inspiration for anybody who's on this courage journey. We need to be remembering how courageous we are and that we need to choose to be courageous because otherwise life will get us down.
Yeah, I agree. And I love it. And I would also suggest to the audience when they read the book to maybe send a note to Bernice about give your feedback about what you thought about the book. Like she will appreciate that as well because it's really helpful to learn what people think about after they read it. So
Yes, and if they would be so kind, I mean, the book is only going to be the ebook is only like $2.97 US on Amazon. If they would be so kind as to purchase a copy there if they want to and leave me a review, that also would be
oh, that would be
really
amazing.
helpful.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
but I'd
Yes.
love to hear from them anyway. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, getting the feedback is always good because you can learn more about it, right? So,
yes,
well,
yes.
thanks, Bernice. I really appreciate having you in my show. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We will add all Bernice's information on the show notes so you can reach out to her. For the listeners, please leave a review. If you like this episode, make some, leave some comments, whatever, makes you feel inspired about this conversation. Thank you, Bernice. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mariana.
All right. See you next time. Thanks.
Okay.